Paul Simon's debut solo album turns 60 years old this month, so we're going to give it the random foreplay treatment. So join us for 4 songs from and one discussion of the Paul Simon Songbook. Hey, welcome to Acting is Reacting with me, JSB, actor and lifelong music fan, and once again, my very special guest, Shawn from Reactions to the Classics. Welcome back. You ready for another mad dose of randomness?
I am. I can't wait. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
Fantastic. So those who are wondering what on earth a random foreplay is, and that is a fair question, I think, what will happen is I will put the Paul Simon Songbook on shuffle, and we will choose one song to highlight out of every 3 options that gets offered up to us. So Shawn and I will take picking one of those, and as he has found out before, the choices aren't easy. Sometimes you're stuck with 2 or possibly 3 of your favorites, and other times you're left with the songs you like the least. But either way, a choice has to be made and a song has to be played. That's a nice little rhyme for it, isn't it?
That is good right
Anyway,
there.
I call it Russian roulette with more music and less death, usually. But the point of it is that it tends to provoke interesting discussion points and gives us a different way of revisiting some of these old albums. So on that note, before we get into the song selection, let's talk a bit about the album itself. And loaded question here, Shawn, but how did you first encounter this album?
I don't even remember. I mean, several years ago, my daughter and I, Mackenzie, back when she used to make videos with me, we reacted to this album. It's the only time I'd ever heard this album until you asked me. Now, obviously, a lot of the songs are on, Simon and Garfunkel, but on future albums or past albums or whatever. But I wasn't real familiar with this album whenever you asked me to do it, so I've had to revisit it. But yeah, I mean, it's not something I've spun a lot, JSB, or know a lot. What about you?
No, well, I suspect in somewhat of a unique position with this album because it is fairly obscure even now. It's been out on CD for over 20 years, but even so, uh, I suspect a lot of Paul Simon fans still don't even know that it exists.
Right.
And certainly those who are Simon and Garfunkel fans and do know some of Paul's solo stuff, but they wouldn't really have any idea that he made this album in the period that he did. But for me, it's always been part and parcel because I grew up in a household that had this album, Sounds of Silence, and Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, which are the 2 albums that a lot of these songs got re-recorded on back when he reconnected with that, shall we say, slightly taller colleague of his. Uh,
Yes.
and so I've always known both versions of these songs and generally prefer the ones found on this album. But I do understand that those, and it's most people who come to this album, come many, many decades after being familiar with the other versions. And so to them, this sounds weird because it is so stripped back. It's literally just Paul and his guitar. And uh, on one occasion, his foot stamping along with it is the only other sound
Yeah.
that you ever hear.
Yeah, and
So,
I was this. It was April of 2021 when Mackenzie and I did this for you, by the way. But like, it was that long
oh,
ago.
was that for me? I thought it must have been for one of your sexiest patrons, but I couldn't think who it was.
Well, it was. You got it right. Yeah, you got it right.
So for me, obviously, I'm very familiar with
Yeah.
everything, all 3 albums, like I say. But I guess for you, even the Simon and Garfunkel albums, you're not overly familiar with. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's a very fair assessment. I've run them. I've reacted to one of them. So I mean, I've come in contact with them at different places. I enjoy them, but no, yeah, I'm not some great Simon and Garfunkel fan. I think Paul Simon's a great writer. I see people put him on the level of Bob Dylan. I think that's certifiably insane. But if you're watching this video, you probably don't think it is. And when I revisited this album, the first time I listened to it, I wasn't like studying it. I just put in the AirPods and listened to it, and I thought, man, this isn't as good as I remember it being. But then when I listened to it like 3, 4 more times, I'm like, oh yeah, no, man, this is really good. So that's kind of so my experience with this is very, very novice.
Well, that will make a hopefully interesting contrast as
Yeah.
we go through it. And if you need help choosing your selections, then feel free to ask my advice and we'll see how we go. But otherwise, I don't want you to be under any pressure. You just pick what you want, basically. But if we end this video without having heard the sound of silence, something's gone wrong. Just saying.
Yes, I agree 100%. 100%.
Yeah, so for those who don't know the Simon and Garfunkel history, in 1964, a year before this came out, we had the first Simon and Garfunkel album, Wednesday morning, 3 a.m. And speaking of Bob Dylan, it's kind of Dylan's debut repeated all over again with the same mistakes made by Columbia Records,
Yeah.
getting the major songwriters to record a bunch of folk covers and just a sprinkling of their own songs. And it came out and sold about 3,000 copies. And I mean, now that would actually be quite good because people
Yeah.
aren't buying physical media. But back then, that was basically a disaster. Paul and Artie split. Artie went back to college. Paul came over to England and Europe in general and was kind of traveling around being an American troubadour. But being based in London, he had access to Columbia Records studio recording there to make an album, and he kind of got a bit of notice on the folk scene, and people were interested in some of the songs that he played on BBC Radio and that sort of thing. And yeah, he went into the studio, turned out these 12 songs, and nothing much happened. Now, it didn't chart, but one thing that we need to say on that point is 1965, the UK album chart was a top 20. So not charting is not quite the disaster it might be. Who knows? It might not have sold anything. I'm not entirely sure. It sold well enough for it to be given a New Zealand release, which is how it came to be in my mum's collection, obviously. So it can't have been a complete write-off. But yeah, the UK album chart would slowly expand to a top 30 in early 66 and then to a top 40 later in 66 and then eventually get up to the 100 that it is these days. So yeah, don't take its commercial failure as any sign of an album that wasn't worth hearing.
Yeah.
But speaking of the music, I hope people listen along with us, but it won't be in the main YouTube video, but there should be a link somewhere hiding away for you to find if you want to listen to the songs with us. So let's kick off with Shawn's first choice. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Excellent. So choice one is going to be out of these three songs. We have got The Side of a Hill, Flowers Never Bend with the Rainfall, or A Most Peculiar Man. I really have no idea what you're going to choose from those. Do you?
Let's go with The Side of a Hill.
Fine choice. And that is actually the choice I would have made. So well done.
All right.
For those who don't know, this is one of the few songs on this album that wasn't fully re-recorded by Simon and Garfunkel,
Yeah.
but some of its lines were used in the arrangement of Scarborough Fair / Canticles. So you might spot a few familiar lines, even if the rest of the song is largely unfamiliar. But all of these songs are quite short as well. So, right, let's go for it. This is The Side of a Hill.
On the side of a hill in a land called somewhere, a little boy lies asleep in the earth, while down in the valley a crew war rages, and people forget what a child's life is worth. On the side of a hill, a little cloud weeps and waters the grave with its silent tears, while a soldier cleans and polishes a gun that ended a life at the age of 7 years. And the war rages on in a land called somewhere, and generals order their men to kill and to fight for a cause they've long ago forsaken. forgotten, while a little cloud weeps on the side of a hill.
Here we are, the futility of war expressed in a little over 2 minutes.
Yeah, so well written. I mean, this does show you, this whole album shows you Simon's brilliance as a writer, but this song in particular is quite powerful for that reason. And, you know, we're just at the beginning stages of the Vietnam War when he's writing this. Will become much more powerful a few years later, even. But you know, the delivery, the acoustic, the whole album, you know, you get to really dive into the words. It's a singer-songwriter, it's early Dylan, it's acoustic, it's you pulled into the story. So the story better be very good, and it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's also, I think, quite underrated as an acoustic player. I think
Yeah.
his guitar work is excellent throughout, and not just on this album, for all of the intervening 60 years as well. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't simply do a full remake of this rather than just picking a line here or there.
Well, it would have been perfect because, as I said, the Vietnam War was raging in the late 60s and there were so many songs about it. Yeah, they could have done that and just thrown it on there. And I mean, who knows? Maybe the record company didn't want them to quite go. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah,
It's
interesting.
also one of the 2 tracks on this album that isn't credited to Paul Simon officially. It's a Paul Kane tune, which was
Yes,
a
the
pseudonym he
pseudonym.
used, being a fan of Citizen Kane. But I was always very confused as a kid. And I'm sure I asked my mum multiple times, why this is the Paul Simon Songbook? Is he doing 2 songs by this Paul Kane guy? Um, and the liner notes make it clear that Paul's written all of these songs anyway, so it's all a bit strange. But
It is strange. It's
it's
definitely strange.
not the only strange thing about the liner notes, but we might come to that a little bit later. Don't know. Have you ever encountered the liner notes for this album?
I have not.
They are a treat, I can tell you.
Okay, now you got my curiosity piqued.
I'll explain a bit more about those, but first I'm going to pick a song because hey, it's my turn. You did great. For me, even if I get my 3 least favorite songs, they're all good. But there are, I'd say about half the album is my favorite half,
Yeah.
and the other half is just really good. So
There's one song that's not really good, but we'll get into that later if we have time. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll be interested to know what you think that is. I'm pretty sure I won't choose it, but you can never tell. So I hope you're playing along at home as well. I mean, obviously, if you don't know the album, you probably wouldn't have chosen that song. Maybe you went with A Most Peculiar Man, which would have been another fine choice. But my choices will be between Leaves That Are Green, April Come She Will, or one that everybody loves saying, A Simple Desultory Philippic, or How I Was Lyndon Johnston into Submission. Well, this is good because this group of 3 has my least favorite in it, but it also has one of my most favorites. And that's the one I'm going to play for us. I'm going to throw it to Shawn to see if he can guess which one it is.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to guess which one it isn't. And that's A Simple Desultory Philippic. Is that your least favorite?
It's not. It's not.
Wow. Okay, then. So tell me what you chose, and I'll know what your least favorite is.
Yeah, well, I chose, and we will hear right about now, Leaves of the Green.
I was 21 years when I wrote this song. I'm 22 now, but I won't be for long. Time hurries on, and the leaves that are green turn to brown, and they wither with the wind, and they crumble in your hand. Once my heart was filled with the love of a girl, I held her close, but she faded in the night, like a poem I meant to write. And the leaves that are green turn to brown, and they wither with the wind, and they crumble in your hand. I threw a pebble in a brook and watched the ripples run away, and they never made a sound, and the leaves that are green turn to brown, and they wither with the wind, and they crumble in your hand. Hello, 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 hello. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. That's all there is, and the leaves that are green turn to brown.
All right. Now that is for me one of the possibly the only song that I can't specifically tell you whether I prefer this version or the Simon and Garfunkel, but it's also the most different arrangement from the Simon and Garfunkel, where you've got the kind of chirpy harpsichord arrangement for that, whereas this is much more melancholy with just the stripped back guitar, which I think suits the lyric perfectly. But it's one where I really do like both versions. I mean, I actually like both versions of all of these, but I just prefer these ones as a rule. So how do you find this?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what you said. I think with the lyric, just the acoustic and drawn back arrangement fits perfectly because it's an emotional song. So you don't need anything else to it. You just need to get lost in it. No, I think it's a really good song. I think side one is pretty much fire, like song after song. So yeah, I thought that was a good choice.
Yeah, so obviously you're wondering, well, you know now what my least favorite is, and it is April Come She Will, because it's basically just a children's nursery rhyme thing. And when I was a kid, if you put anything like a nursery rhyme on an album, I'd say, oh, that's childish. I don't want to listen to
I get
that.
that. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I can appreciate it strangely more now, but
Yeah,
it's got all that baggage from my past, so it will never be a favorite.
totally get it.
Uh,
Got songs that
but
way for me too.
I think this has one of the best opening lines of a song ever. And Billy Bragg obviously thought so as well, given that he lifted it wholesale for New England. Um, and of course, the line doesn't really make sense because I was 21 years when I wrote the song. I'm 22 now, but I won't be for long. Hang on, when did you write that line?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. But you got to get to the next line. Time hurries on. It just letting you know you better watch out because you're going to wake up one day and this thing is going to be you're going to be 54.
Well, who do you know who's 54? Surely nobody who's on this Zoom call.
No, of course not. Of course not.
But I think if anyone here is listening to these songs for the first time, then that will be a strong contender for a stark contrast to anything that they've heard before.
Yeah.
And this speaks to why some people see this album as a bit of a demo-y sound, because it's not very well recorded, let's be honest. It's got two people credited on production, which I assume means one of them put the microphone in and one person brought his stool in for him. I don't really know what exactly they did. But he was just there playing the songs that he played in clubs at the time. And as a result, of course, every song ends properly, which is a big bugbear of mine, as we know. No fade outs to be found.
But it's
Because,
part of the charm of the album, and I think why it works because it isn't highly produced. You feel like you're just there
yeah,
with him and he's singing to you.
absolutely. But yeah, I can understand some finding that a bit unnerving, especially when it's new to them compared to what they're used to from Paul,
Yeah.
who, of course, would go all in on production not too long after this, to be fair.
And it's probably part of the reason, I mean, mainly because it's written and he didn't like a lot of the songs in retrospect that he wrote, to Kathy at the time. But, it was released in the US for a couple days in 1969. And he didn't know it was going to be released. And then he threw a fit and they recalled it. So if anybody out there watching this has the original 1969 release, it's probably worth some money.
Yeah, well, I think even the copy that we had was worth some money, but
I would
unfortunately,
imagine.
we don't have all of our records have disappeared now. So if somebody found that in a Salvation Army shop in Auckland somewhere, pick it up. It might be a great listen, and B, worth some dosh. You mentioned it about how he didn't like some of his songs in retrospect, so that's a good segue back into these liner notes, which they're nuts. And you read this, you have to remember as well that he's at this point in time a nobody.
Right.
But he comes off sounding very insecure. It starts off with him saying this: I start with the knowledge that everything I write will turn and laugh at me. You never get used to mocking laughter. I am forever withdrawn and shuffling before my own words. I do have some feeble phrases that I put forward to excuse myself, but that's the way I felt at the time. But I can barely hear them for the ringing of laughter in my ears. You see, I know that in a year's time, I'll reread these scribbled notes and think, oh no, did I write this junk? And if you think that's a strange enough introduction, he then proceeds to provide a couple of little mini sketches, one of which features Paul, but also Paul forcing himself to listen to his own music and laugh at himself or something along those lines, before he drifts off into a kind of Disney-esque / Wizard of Oz fantasy land where he can go off and be happy. It's really bizarre. But he ends by saying that this LP has 12 of the songs that I have written over the past 2 years. There are some here that I would not write today. I don't believe in them as I once did. I've included them because they played an important role in the transition. It is discomforting, almost painful, to look back over something someone else created and realize that someone else was you. Yeah.
Introspective to the max, right?
We might all have something in our lives that we look back on in that way and say, well, I can see that was a younger version of me, but
I would hope that we all do. I would hope that we're all that introspective.
It's not as if Paul's an old man at this point. And of course, as we know, most of these songs suddenly became good enough to re-record when he needed material to make those Simon Garfunkel records.
Good point.
Anyway, I'm still not entirely sure what to make of, and I haven't read all of those to you, so they are available to find online if you want to go and read the full shebang and marvel at their bafflement. But meanwhile, it's time for Shawn to make another most excellent song choice. And I mean, there's one song that if we know it comes up, we'll be hearing, but otherwise the choices could be tricky. So
yeah,
let's find out. So Shawn's choice number 2 comprises He Was My Brother, Patterns, or Kathy's Song.
Oh, wow. I didn't get, there was 2 of them. So you gave me all side 2 after I said side 1 was fire.
I can tell you that this selection contains my most played song from this album.
I mean, I rated every single song like on a point system, on a point system, and they're all either rated the same. One of them's 0.1 higher. So I guess I'll take that song, and that was He Was My Brother.
That's the correct answer.
Look at me, I'm 2 for 2.
You're doing great. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have to prod you. So
yeah, I mean, I have felt a lot of pressure though once you said one of them's your most played song, but I got it right. So all right.
All right. So this, of course, is one of the 2 songs, and spoiler alert, we're going to hear the other one soon. That was previously recorded by Simon and Garfunkel on that debut, and in both cases, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just hear the song, and then I'll tell you what I think about it afterwards. So here is He Was My Brother.
He 5 years older than I. He was my brother, 23 years old the day he died. Freedom rider, they cursed my brother to his face. Go home, outsider, Mississippi's gonna be a burying place. He was singing on his knees. An angry mob trailed along. They shot my brother dead because he hated what was wrong. He was my brother. Tears can't bring him back to me. He was my brother, and he died so his brothers could be free. Oh God, he died so his brothers could be free.
All right. Fantastic choice, Shawn. Well made.
Yeah,
So
that
what song does this get just 0.1 of a higher score then? I'm curious to know.
no, just of those other two songs that you gave me when I graded them. But I mean, after listening to it, I guess in this format, just sitting here listening to it, I mean, this might be the best song on this album. I don't know. I mean, besides, of course, what you're going to pick next. But you know, his performance on here is absolutely masterful. The way he holds the he in the first word to kind of draw you in. And then in verse 3, when the guy dies, the way he ups the acoustic and gets louder, then he gets softer. And then in the last verse, in the middle of that, you feel him get more emotional. He really draws you in. It's a wonderful performance, along with obviously super powerful lyrics.
Yeah, absolutely. And this and another of the songs that we're not going to get to, A Church is Burning. Um,
Yeah,
these were my introduction to the idea of the civil rights movement from a very young age. You'll understand this is
right.
quite heavy material that I was listening to and asking a lot of questions about. Like, what is he talking about here? Trying to explain that to a 5 or 6 year old was probably quite a difficult thing to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I'm sure it was.
um, I think it's so powerful, and I mean, I didn't realize at the time that you could have a brother who wasn't actually your biological brother and things like that
Right.
as well. But I was thinking I wouldn't mind if my brother got shot. No, sorry, bro, I love you. But yeah, I mean, I think his performance here is spectacular, and there's a couple of changes lyrically, um, just minor changes, but I think they're significant ones from the Simon and Garfunkel version. In that it was originally, this town's going to be your burial place, just wherever you happen to be, but it's more specifically here, Mississippi,
Yeah.
um, which was very pointed. And the song is apparently about someone that Paul knew who did fight and die uh, due to his involvement in the civil rights movement.
Well,
And it was, of course, in
I'll jump
Mississippi.
in real quick and just say I think they did miss. I think he did Mississippi originally because as an American, it would draw you immediately. You wouldn't have to guess what he was talking about if you had. There's no ambiguity. You know He's talking about the civil rights movement when he says Mississippi.
Yeah.
No offense to Mississippi, but it is what it is.
Well, no, exactly. And then just at the end, when he's saying he died so his brothers could be free, he slips in and God, he died. And just that extra word just
Yeah.
really makes it all the more powerful to me, along with the fact that you haven't got harmonies. I mean, I know everybody loves Simon & Garfunkel for their harmonies, but it doesn't always suit the material. And
No,
this
it
is a
doesn't
song
need
that I
it.
don't think it does.
No, not at all.
So yeah, that said, fantastic song and fantastic version of it and fantastic choice. So we've kind of already spoiled what the final selection is going to be, but I have to go through the motions, so to speak, and find out for sure what it is, and then choose it, and then play it, because it is a pretty loaded selection that I've got left. So
It
the
is.
tunes in question are "I Am a Rock," "A Church is Burning," or, drumroll please, "The Sound of Silence." Now, Shawn, I happen to recall from your video with Mac all those years ago that when you first heard this version of the song, you weren't that taken with it. Has anything changed in your recent re-listens?
Here's the problem. I mean, yes, a little bit. I mean, the first time I heard it again on the re-listen, I'm like, yeah, no. But the more I listen to it, it's probably one of my 10 favorite songs of all time. And my favorite of S&G is actually the acoustic, ironically enough. And I know almost everyone else loves the electric version. But yeah, I do. It's just such a powerful song that I do have a better feeling about it than whenever Mac and I did record it. So yes, I do have a better feeling.
Okay, well, that's good. You won't have to pretend to enjoy it as we listen to it, which we will do in a second. But just because you said that about the electric and acoustic, I actually made a note looking in Spotify, and I thought I'd play a little game with you. Roughly, the electric and acoustic versions have a combined stream total of 730 million.
Okay.
How many of those do you think are each?
I would guess, oh golly, let's go about 550 on the electric version. Am I totally off?
Totally off.
Well, it's because of the sequencing of them though, too.
Well, maybe, but they're both. No, well, actually, that opens an album. You'd think it would serve it well, but it doesn't at all. Streamers are on your side. Electric, 42 million.
Oh,
Acoustic,
wow.
687.
Because see, when I ask people, they almost always say the electric version, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're both great.
What generation are you talking to? Because I think it's going to be different. I think the younger generation are going for the acoustic.
That must be what it. No, I've just over the years when I ask people, because I used to ask people just out of curiosity, and I've asked them on the live stream, I've asked just different people, and they're always like the electric version. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's good too, but
it is. But neither of those versions are the best version of the song.
Oh wow!
And this this version only has 13 million streams on Spotify and is far and away the most streamed song from this album. So if you thought that was a contentious statement, well, first of all, let's hear it and see for ourselves, because the Paul Simon Songbook version of the seminal Sound of Silence sounds like this.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, 'neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence.
All right. Well, anyone who was hearing that for the first time, I am fascinated to know what you make of it. So do let me know in the comments below.
Yeah.
And yeah, how did you take it on that hearing, Shawn?
It's good, but what I really need to do is throw this back to you. You need to educate me why this is the best version.
Well, because I always thought it was, and you can't change your mind after that many years.
I agree. It's the first time. Obviously, is this the first version you heard of it?
Well, I mean, like I say, I heard both basically simultaneously, but I just always gravitated to this version. And I just think, again, lyrically, it makes more sense to have one person singing it.
I do agree with that. Sonically, I don't think it sounds quite as good, but lyrically and for the feel of the song, you are correct on that.
And I also like, I mean, put it this way, I'm glad that he's not tapping his foot through the whole damn album. But
No, I am too, but
I like what that brings to the song, especially the way it actually comes in on the line about the narrow streets of cobblestone, which I've always imagined in my head helps me into that world. And I'm walking those streets with him as he's tapping his foot. Maybe other people don't enter the song the same way as I do, but that's always something that's worked for me on this particular recording. Funnily enough, there's an alternative version of I Am a Rock, which is on the CD, where he taps his foot on that as well. But otherwise, I don't quite know why it's on a song or two and not the rest. But like I say, it probably would get annoying song after song. But
it would, but this had something special. And I'll say on those 3 song choices you had for this was the right answer, but there was no wrong answer. I'm a Rock and The Church is Burning are just fantastic as well. And I'll also say, you're probably not watching this video if you have this opinion, but the band Disturbed did a very famous cover of this song that many, many people will tell you is better than Simon or Simon and Garfunkel. And that's insane talk. That's just my 2 cents. Let's not go there. But it's a very hot debate over this song, and it's crazy to me. But anyway.
I consider putting up a poll of all 4 versions. Both Simon and Garfunkel versions and Disturbed, but I'm not sure that I'd like the answers. So
I don't think you would, especially with the younger generation. It would be a good song war for your channel, the original. Of course, which one are you going to choose? So I guess you're going to choose this one versus Disturbed.
But I have to say, Paul obviously agrees with me, which makes him very wise, because I've saw him a few times live, and certainly on the final occasion, which was his proper big farewell tour. I know he's been doing some dates recently, but at Hyde Park in front of 65,000 people, he played the song that way, just him and the guitar, and you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just mesmerizing when it's performed right, and you don't need the bells and whistles for it.
Yeah, I do agree. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
So, but yeah, like you say, if I Am a Rock or A Church is Burning had come up in my other choices, then I probably would have gone with either of those over Leaves of the Green. But it's a really strong, those 3 songs are the opening opening tracks on the album, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an amazing first three. It doesn't really dip much from there, but it's a super strong opening, I think, to what is probably one of my favorite albums of all time. And I know that's a fairly unusual thing, but I mean, I guess I've always also, because of this album and the way it was introduced to me, preferred Paul solo to Simon and Garfunkel overall. And that is, again, not a commonly held opinion, but I mean, his solo career, other than a couple of dips, has been pretty spectacular from start to finish, I think. I don't know.
Now,
You're
see,
not
I'll
really
jump in there. I don't know any of his solo career besides Graceland. I mean, I know a few songs, but I will. You're going to be a better judge of this. But like this album, the collection of songwriting, which ironically being called the Songbook, the collection of songwriting on here is absolutely top flight. I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot because you'd have to think about it, but I don't know how many other albums for him where the songwriting is this outstanding, start to finish. As we talked about, he's dealing with some serious, serious subjects here.
I think he's a pretty consistent songwriter overall. Some albums are weaker than others.
Of course.
His first couple after the split with Garfunkel are pretty damn strong. And then the underrated gem after this one in his catalogue is Hearts and Bones from '83, which is one of his least successful albums, but some really, really great songs on there that more people should know. Okay. And then the album after Graceland, Rhythm of the Saints, is also super strong. But by that point, of course, he was working quite differently and getting the rhythm tracks first and then writing the words. It was a very different approach to how he was writing songs at this phase of his career. I mean, at this point, he didn't even know he had a career. So that's the other interesting thing, of course, is that he releases this album in August of '65, and we assume it doesn't do much, if anything. And then 4 or 6 weeks later, the Tom Wilson remix of The Sound of Silence is out in America. He doesn't even know. Then he's in Denmark playing a gig there, and he picks up a copy of Billboard and sees it in the charts, presumably quite low at that point. And then Garfunkel's on the phone to him saying, it's going up the charts, it's going up the charts. And before you know it, he's been sent a copy and he's devastated when he hears the electric version because he thinks it's awful. But then is swiftly back in the States recording a lot of the songs on here in that electric fashion to fit in with the sound of the times. And, well, the rest is history, as they say. But just imagine those pre-internet years where you could learn something about yourself by just picking up a magazine in a shop and going, wait a second, what's going on?
Yeah, I miss those days. And I will say this too, talking about this stuff, it is unique kind of in music history. There's not a lot of these instances where, as you said, he's not famous. This is an album he released, not trying to appeal to the public or anything else. It's just a raw, as you read from the liner notes, it's just a raw, here's who I am. And to have that actually still exist out here once somebody becomes super famous, it doesn't happen a whole lot in this kind. It's kind of a unique circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I hope anybody hearing this for the first time is intrigued enough to go and give the rest a listen. And if you are a fan of Paul generally and haven't heard this, I'm fascinated to know your thoughts. But equally, if this album has been in your collection for, well, since the CD came out or even before, then let me know what you think as well. And let us know what your choices would have been, of course, and if we made the right ones. I think we did pretty damn well today, to be honest. There's some that we missed. I would have loved to have A Church Is Burning or I Am a Rock in the mix as well, but you can't have everything. That's the name of the game, quite literally. So if you did think that those choices were a little bit easy, though, how about watching one of my old videos and trying to choose between America and American Tune? Or if you'd rather see what this man on my left made of this whole album on his first listen with his daughter, well worth watching, by the way. I'll try and link that below for you as well. But that said, thanks for joining me and Shawn. Thanks for coming back for us. And I will say bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.